Okay, so I have no idea how much time we have left. Oh, we have 30 seconds left before we get started. And as usual, we get to dissect my Florida Today article with one of my favorite. I can't call you my favorite editor anymore.
The Lillian McDermott.
I can't because Robert just gets a little, he goes, hey, I'm your editor too. So today we're going to dissect my latest Florida Today article and fasten your seatbelt because we're going to learn and grow together. Time to dance, Tim. I've been waiting for this moment. Nah, that's not how Tim dances. Give me some Muppet action. There you go. That's what I want to capture. That's what I want to capture. Okay.
That'll show up when I run for president someday.
Are you really? Do you really
No.
want that? Okay. I was just wondering because I dated a guy once. I wanted to be president. I went, okay, I'm done. Oh, thank you.
This is the place you can always.
Oh, it's 1068. WF. Huh.
Reach out to Lillian. Visit her on the web at whenyouneedafriend.com. Now let's all learn together. Here's Lillian McDermott.
Hello, my listening friend. It's so nice we can meet each other on the air on this beautiful best day ever. And for those of you who are new to the Lillian McDermott radio show, the purpose of the show is to provide a safe place where you can go to when you need a friend. You know what? No politics and no sports. Basically, I'm going to say that it's all about life and what we need to live. And for those of you who have just tuned in, let me tell you what this show is all about. It is my commitment to provide alternative ways to heal, and it is my mission to make awareness, responsibility, and truth a part of our everyday life. And I hope you, my listening friend, and my viewing audience will feel empowered to embrace a new truth and live the life of your dreams. Now, today, I can't believe it. It's been another month that has gone by, and it is time again to dissect my Florida Today article. I know that Tim Walters of Florida Today has often said, I just don't know what I'm going to get when I pull out your email and read your article for the month. Very unpredictable, just like the show. You can always count on that whatever we talk about will hopefully, when I say count on, hopefully, it will help you build the kind of life that you want, the kind of love that you want too. So today, one of my favorite, I was just telling Tim that I couldn't call him my favorite because one of my favorite also is my husband, but my husband, Robert, Tim Walters is one of my favorite editors of Florida Today. He is the creator of Daddy Duty, or the author of Daddy Duty, where he chronicles his journey as a new father with beautiful Isabella, which I got to spend some time virtually with her yesterday. And today we're going to be discussing my latest article, which talks about the terrorists in our lives. Do you have terrorists in your lives? We'll see. And so since there's our sole purpose in life to give and receive love and knowledge, I am grateful that Tim Walters of Florida Today is here to do just that. Welcome, Tim, to the Lillian McDermott Radio Show.
Excellent. Thank you, Lillian. It's great to be here, but you said no sports and no politics. I think I'm on the right show, right?
Yes, I know. You had just been telling me how excited you are that today you get to do a interview with a sporting event. And, you know, it must be kind of like when you read my articles or when you spend time on the show, is this kind of like stepping you out of your comfort zone, or is this something that you do all the time?
No, it's definitely not out of my comfort zone anymore. But, I love your phrase where you call me the Swiss Army knife of editors, because
Yes.
I'm a health editor, I'm a sports editor, I'm a photo chief. You know, they kind of, I've got the island of misfit toys, I like to call our group, because we're from so many different places. But, it's so much of a fun job, and it keeps it fresh, so I'm not just dealing with one subject every day. But yeah, I'm going down to Port St. Lucie today. We're going to check out the Mets and the Yankees. So that's the only sports I'll mention today. And then we'll get on to your excellent article. So, change of pace, a little health this morning, a little sports later on today.
Yeah, it's good. Hey, listen, everybody's life should be that exciting. So today, not today. I mean, the article is already published online at floridatoday.com. But when you reached out and you picked out the article of the month, what did you think?
Well, when you see terrorists in the headline,
Oh,
you're
I
not.
thought that I would at least get a like top billing on terrorism.
Well, you never know what you're going to get, because certainly not a topic you and I have discussed much is terrorism. But it's not the political kind of terrorism. It's a physical kind of terrorism and things that we do to ourselves. So, it took me a couple of paragraphs to get into it. And then I really started to see the picture kind of take shape. And, the article this week, I mean, this is something that everyone who's listening to the show this morning, you're going to read it and you're going to be like, wow, this is my life at times too. It's, about being so overwhelmed and so overloaded with things that, it just, sometimes it can literally be hard to breathe, and you experience that.
Yeah, I did. I was getting ready to go up to Jacksonville. We had a wonderful time at Veg Fest, but preparing for that, when you're gone for a whole week and you're uprooting, you have to think of all the different things that you can bring with you, and make sure that you have everything, that you have all the equipment when you're going up there to do it on location, and on top of that, discovering, oh my article is due. So when that's how I started, and I had shared with you, because we just recorded our television interview as well. That's going to be on Sunday at 5:30 on WEFS TV. It was amazing that, as we were discussing all the things, all the doing, that this was truly my journaling for how I was feeling. And vulnerability, I guess, always wins. But I'm hoping that this article people can relate to so much that it might allow them to dip their toe into a different solution for how they're feeling. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And so today we are dissecting my article for Florida Today. It's called what? What did we change it to? Do you remember that?
Keeping the terrorists out of your body.
Keeping the terrorists. What are the terrorists in your body? We're going to continue our conversation with Tim Walters when we return worldwide at whenyouneedafriend.com. We'll be right here waiting for you. That was what I was trying to do. I was trying to go online, but it's keeping
the terrorists out of your body.
Yeah. So, yes, that's the way it is right now. Keeping the terrorists. I was having a conversation with someone who is a spiritual guide in an essence, and they were focused on one aspect of religion and the only way to God, right? And I'm thinking, yes, we have Christians that believe a certain way, that this is the only way that you can get to God. But have they also looked at, and I'm not saying just Christians, but all religions, that our body is a temple? And that was what my whole underline as I was writing this article, thinking that there's more than one way to heal our body. There's more than one way to have that connection with our Creator. There's more than one way. And whichever way works for you, that's the way we need to take. And this article for me became I really need to take a look at this. I don't like feeling out of control. Have you ever felt out of control, Tim, where you feel, I've just got to get off this merry-go-round?
Oh, sure. Yeah. I mean, I think that's, common for, like I said earlier, just about everybody. I can remember, I think it was in 2011 when I got my first management position, and it wasn't just taking over like an existing department. It was combining 3 departments at Florida Today as part of a downsizing. And I would say for the first 6 months, I must have worked 11 and 12-hour days every day trying to figure it out. And there came a point where just getting up seemed like the toughest thing in the world, because, and your mind was always swimming, and it was hard, to fall asleep at night. And, you just, there comes a point where you just have to figure out, what you can delegate, what you can do without, and what that you actually need to do, so you're not killing yourself trying to do everything. And now it's almost 7 years later, I'm in management. Now I truly understand like how to make a team work. But I know you don't have a whole team that you can rely on. But, that's what I had to figure out over a period of time, was how to put all those things together.
Yeah, I do have my peeps. I do have some people that are like keeping me afloat too. So I had to do that. So it's important to delegate. There you go. Welcome back to the Lillian McDermott Radio Show, where you can listen worldwide at whenyouneedafriend.com. Today's teacher is none other than my favorite Swiss Army knife, Tim Walters. He's the editor of Florida Today. He has many hats, but today he is my co-host. And Tim, you were going to be taking over for announcing a little bit about the article. So. Absolutely.
So, earlier we were just kind of we had started talking about the article and how it's very, common for everybody to feel this overwhelming sensation. And you were telling us a little bit of what, inspired this article. But then as we, start to really delve into it, one of the lines that I highlighted, I always print out your article, read it thoroughly, and try and highlight it. But one of the lines that I highlighted was, although I was going through the motions of preparing my smoothie, my brain started counting all the deadlines for the day. And the reason I highlighted that is because it shows you that even when you're just trying to do the things that you do every day, your mind is swimming with all of these other things. And you really kind of have to, maybe just, as I was saying during the break, you kind of have to figure out a way to put those things aside so you can just enjoy your breakfast, so you can enjoy your smoothie, so you can kind of take those deep breaths that you need. And when we're doing those things, it's just, it's like you're just flying through life with no taste and it can be frustrating. It can be very mentally, stressing.
Yeah. And, when you have a lot of deadlines, it's so important. If you take, when I'm not done, when I am trying to get all my deadlines completed, there's something that happens to me, and I don't know if this happens to you, but even though I'll go to sleep, like maybe 3 hours later, my body will wake me up and go back to work. You'll need extra time to complete all your tasks. And so I go and I use that time when I wake up between the hours of 3 and 4 to do the things that I knew that have the closest deadline. And sometimes at that moment, after I've had a refreshing rest, I can go back and start working again. But this time it just wasn't resetting. I was not resetting. I was, it was like every day was yet another deadline and another deadline, and something else was coming up. And that's when I stopped. As I was waking up, my body was telling me, my body was sending me symptoms that I knew as a life coach, as a host, interviewing such great teachers, that my body was speaking to me loud and clear. I was shallow breathing. And a lot of people have forgotten how to breathe, Tim. I don't know if I've shared this with you, but back in 2009, 2009, 2008, when the housing crisis was happening, and I had shared in the past that it affected my husband and I considerably. I went back to work, and it just seemed like there was just a constant going on. And during that time, I was experiencing some hoarseness, which I thought was related to my thyroid. Well, it turned out I wasn't breathing properly. We have forgotten. I had to be taught how to breathe again. And that is something that we probably don't even know. Like if you see your chest going up and down, you are not breathing properly. You need to breathe through your diaphragm. And that is something that we need to be conscious of until we reset our breathing clock to go the right way. And I've noticed that I was shallow breathing, and I was feeling that when you breathe shallow, you also, the side effect of that is feeling anxious. And so I recognized it because my body was telling me that's my symptom. And I looked deep into that, and that's what motivated me. This was like my journal for that day.
Yeah, and every time you mention breathing correctly, it's funny. I sit there and take a big deep breath in the nose and out through the mouth. It must be a mental thing. There's probably a lot of people driving to work right now who did that as well.
Yeah.
But, you finding the symptoms, that's, probably the most important thing is diagnosing that yourself, because one of the questions you ask is, how many times do we ignore our bodies? Our bodies love us, but how do we love our bodies back? And just by knowing that there's a problem, by figuring it out, that's the first step toward making it right. So, but we do ignore our bodies all the time. And, it's sometimes very easy to do that. It's easy to run through the drive-through. It's easy to, work and not sleep. It's easy to do all of these things that are so unhealthy for you. And we all fall into it because Lord knows we could all use 28 hours in a day instead of 24, but we're not going to get that. So figuring out how to jam everything in and not let everyone down and not let your family, your employers, it's such a difficult thing to handle. So that's when we have to figure that out for ourselves and say, what is it we're doing that we can do without? Because that's the hardest thing to find, is what to get rid of. It's easy to take stuff on, but it's hard to get rid of stuff.
What do we let go? What do we release? And that was the question that I had to ask myself. And I've asked myself this many times, and I've asked people that I've coached, that if you were giving the key to protect and guard the holiest of holies, or the Taj Mahal, one of the 7 wonders of the world, if you were in charge with protecting that to make sure it's safe, would you allow terrorists in? And although I only talked about, certain things in the article, you can go into a lot more. What are the other terrorists, like sugar and GMOs and foods that are not organic, what the pesticides in it, pharmaceuticals. I mean, there's so many things that harm our body without even knowing. So my question is, if we would be given that line of protection, would we allow the terrorist in? And so what is our body? Our body is our temple. And so why do we treat things better than we treat our body? And so that's what started me with this question. I want to challenge you, my viewers, my listeners, to really contemplate that today. What are the terrorists that you're allowing into your body? Tim, as you were reading that, do you feel that this is something that you have let terrorists in your body? And if so, what are some of those terrorists that you can share?
Well, sure. I mean, it's there's probably a lot of them. Do you consider a donut a terrorist? Because
absolutely. Donut is a terrorist.
Well, there
and
you
don't
go.
wait till that bomb goes off to identify the terrorist, right?
Not that I eat donuts all the time, but I enjoy a good donut. I know you and I have discussed bacon before. You've lectured me on bacon, but it's still salty and delicious.
Me too. It's a carcinogen. So there you go. That's another terrorist.
But I guess the point being is, there are things that we enjoy, and it's hard to give those up. But then there are also those things that are possibly or maybe bad for us that we don't even realize that we're doing wrong. And I think those are the harder ones. And then there are the things where you just say, I know it's bad for me, but I'm going to do it anyway, like people who smoke. That's probably a habit that I'm glad that I never, picked up or kept or whatever you want to call it. So, so I guess there's different categories. But for me, as now that I'm in my 40s, I think more about what I'm eating. I think more about the amount of alcohol I was drinking. So my wife and I have taken steps to cut that down, fatty foods and things like that. But, every now and again, I guess I got to let a donut into the temple.
Hey, come on down. Just come on. My friend used to have a dog. Her name was Lucy. She's no longer on this earth. She's probably protecting everybody in heaven. But Lucy was a golden retriever. And when you would knock on the door, Lucy would come in, and she looked so fierce. And she was like, come on in, rob us. I'm not going to do anything to you. That was the kind of like feeling I got from Lucy. And I always think of Lucy because of her welcoming spirit. And so that's, what are we welcoming? And again, there's so many times that like the bombing in Boston, where it happened unexpected. And there was a backpack that blew up and it hurt so many people. And so why do we need to wait till we get a preventable diagnosis to say, these are the terrorists in my body. Let's be proactive and say, you know what? I'm going to call it what it is and say, why should I allow any of them come in? And I know, and I'm the first to say, if you eat well 80% of the time, whatever you want to eat, that other 20%, or if you eat well 90%, the other 10%, then do it. Don't feel guilty about it. But oh yeah, you're just raising the roof there, right? Okay. So, I mean, I am a true believer in that as well. But what happens is, as we get used to allowing these terrorists in, what's one more? Come on down, like Lucy, come on in.
Well, and you bring up a good point in, using the bombing and using our bodies as a parallel, because, there are two things at play there. And it's a word that's been in the news a lot lately because of the shooting in South Florida as well. And that's situational awareness. And it's a term that I've heard a lot lately. And so, the situational awareness of being in a crowd and knowing who's around you, or the situational awareness of knowing what's in front of you and what you're putting into your body, who you're letting into your life, the influences, and all of those things. So, it's an interesting comparison to draw like that. But when you look at it in those terms, I think it makes total sense.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So then here they are. There's the pharmaceutical industry, the food industry. There's so many different ways that I was watching a commercial the other day. Well, anytime. I hardly ever watch television, but this time I was watching television and there was a commercial and I saw two commercials for the pharmaceutical industry in less than, 3 minutes. And it was amazing, the beautiful images. If you want to stop diabetes, take this pill. But guess what? It could cause internal bleeding, high blood pressure, death. And there's these beautiful, fun images in the background of happy smiles, families. And I just thought, how can we ignore that? There's so many different things that we can do with whole food, plant-based. And that's what I talked about with the acronym this time, is the symptom acronym. What did you think of that one?
Well, the first thing I thought was, how does she come up with this every month? Because that one was pretty complex. But you have symptoms standing for signs your mind points to on many stages. And so, it kind of, you break down the symptoms, the actual symptoms, not the acronym. And I like how you give examples and then discuss each one, and then you ask further questions. So, for instance, we had talked about on the TV show, and we'll talk about it a little now, is, one of the symptoms you put as an example is a headache. And then you ask all the different possible reasons. Have you had water? Have I eaten? What did I eat? Did I get enough sleep? So behind every symptom, rather than looking for the pill to take, you need to look at what you've done that lead up to that point. And, just getting back to those commercials, you're right. You get like 10 seconds of a pitch and then 20 seconds of what it can do to you. You wonder if you pulled the clinical trials, what you'd really see.
Exactly. I mean, and I was so desensitized when I was younger. The doctor would say, oh, if one person has the symptom, then they have to write it down. But the reality is, if one person is having the symptom, who else is having the symptom? And so if there are other things that we can do, it's not that I'm against taking the pill, it's that I am for doing everything we possibly can to heal our body, to bring all the beauty into that temple. And so today we're talking with Tim Walters of the article that I wrote called Keeping the Terrorist Out of Your Body, or Out of Our Body. And we're going to continue our conversation when we return worldwide at whenyouneedafriend.com. We'll be right here waiting for you. I love that countdown. Thank you, Brian. Thank you for keeping us so honest. But the one thing that I think I want to nail, and you're supposed to take over the entrance. I'm like, I forgot you were going to take over maybe we can do it. We can do it this time, and then I'll do my other, where I talk about my social media on the last segment. But, okay. Yeah. But one of the things that I did was write my article at the beach. I went for my walk because my body was telling me I needed to take a break. But my sense of honoring my commitments was telling me work. And you said something to me when we were at the station and we were filming, and you said, sometimes I feel that unless you kill yourself at work, you're not going to be successful. Share a little bit more about that.
Well, I mean, it's just, there's just such an expectation. And, we've seen such a downsizing in our business over the last few years. And I feel, I've tried to learn as many skills as possible. And that's why I kind of have the crazy job title I have is,
Swiss Army knife.
yeah, well, and it comes to the point where they're like, gosh, we need somebody to do it. Who can do it? Tim can do it. And then I've just raised my hand and say, okay. I think I just said it earlier today, but it's easier to take on stuff and it's harder to get rid of stuff. And, luckily my boss did recognize at one point that I did have entirely too much on my plate. So, I was doing also that feature style section on Sunday, and he pulled that off. And, that gives me almost a full day of work back. So, now instead of working 50 hours a week, I'm down to about 42 to 45, which is, very manageable. If you don't count some of the other little things I do, like constant email checking things, but there's such an expectation in the work world. And when you work for a company and when you work for one that's been so hit by layoffs, that unless I make myself, so incredibly important, and unless I do everything, and unless I try and do it better than everybody else, then, I don't want to be the next one cut. So,
but isn't that fear stressful on your body? Isn't that a terrorist as well that comes into your body, that fear that will I be the next one? And do you feel at liberty to say, no, I cannot take on another thing?
I've never said no at work before. So part of it is yes, but also I think, I've learned to manage it because, we had two downsizings, one in 2011 and one in 2014. And I saw a lot of friends, a lot of colleagues, a lot of talented people let go. And the first time in 2011, it was that shortness of breath and those sleepless nights. And then in 2014, it was like, oh no, not again. But then you survived and you didn't have as much survivor's guilt because you already lived through it once and you knew how to manage it. And now, I'm at a point where if it happens again, I guess the third time's a charm. If I go, I go. But, that I just remember 2011, just the sleepless nights and everybody at the office kind of like huddled around whispering about how nervous we were. And, that it was a tough way to live. But, as I found out after that is, that certainly isn't unique to journalism. That's a lot of employment places. My brother's engineering firm, he got laid off there. So he wasn't one of the fortunate ones to keep a job. And, so I saw the stress of somebody losing their job. Then he and his wife lost their house and, now they're back on their feet again.
Yeah,
but,
it's all part of a journey though. It's all part of a journey. When we went through our downsizing where, we were used to a certain amount and then we realized, wow, because of people's irresponsibility, we were affected tremendously. And, yes, we could become very resentful and yes, we could be very angry as well because it's not our fault and take on that victim role. But we didn't have time for that. We had to, start swimming and paddling and that's exhausting too. There's so many different ways that, and I was a part of a layoff a long time ago and where I survived it. And I tell you what, I liked not surviving it because I was able to go on to something even better. And so there's always something good. Okay, now it's your turn.
407-373-5959.
Got it? Do you hear it?
Once again, here's Lillian.
And welcome back to the Lillian McDermott radio show. This is not Lillian. Lillian is with me, of course. This is Tim Walters.
Yeah. I need to breathe.
There you go. I am an editor at Florida Today, and I also edit Lillian's monthly column that she sends in to me, and we also post it at floridatoday.com/health. You can find it at whenyouneedafriend.com. You can hit both of us up on Facebook. It's everywhere. So as soon as you get done listening to this show, I want you to go find it and read it and be like, okay, now I know what they were talking about for the past hour. So, so Lillian, we've been talking about your article today, which the title this week is Keeping the Terrorists Out of Your Body. And this comes from a personal experience you were having over the last couple of weeks where just the pressures and the jobs of life have kind of taken you over and overwhelmed you and taken over your sleep. And then you've had to, kind of dissect and break down and figure out the important things and what you want to do and, what you may not have to do going forward. And we've broken down the symptoms. So, I guess we're getting to that point where we start talking about the solutions now that we're looking at the symptoms.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And this is the time where it's so important for us to take out our soul shovels and dig until there's nothing else but truth. So here's the thing. Yesterday we did a show with Teal Swan, who was kind of terrorized. Well, not kind of. She was terrorized for most of her youth. She was young. So for 13 years, this man from a satanic cult basically did anything he wanted to do with her. And she was left to pick up the pieces like Humpty Dumpty. And so she was saying that some of the things that she has used for her healing is going towards the pain. Instead of what we wanted to do is avoid the pain, going deep into the pain and going back to that first memory of the pain, or even beyond when the first time they ever felt that pain, and recreate it. Give that scenario what it needed at the time. And that's what helped her. And she's been able to pick up the pieces. Many people, she has many followers that have experienced the same kind of trauma in their life. And that was one of the things. But here's what we do. We feel pain, we take a pill. We don't look at what is my body telling what is my brain telling my body? What is my body speaking to my brain? What is my gut speaking to my body? And so because of that, we turn away. And I want to encourage people to go towards it and really dissect it with no blame, no fault, no shame. And also do the research as to what could be contributing to your stress or the terrorist in your body by, looking at, what am I doing? What are the symptoms? Which we talked about. The acronym for symptom is signs our mind points to on many stages. So if we were to listen to these stages, how can we love our bodies in a way that body is going to carry us till we take our last breath? How are we going to do that? So Tim, how do you honor your body? I mean, I asked you during the break, do you ever feel like you can say no?
No, and that's that's an incredibly tough point. Is saying no, because as I said earlier in the show, it's easier to say yes than it is to say no, and it's harder to find those things to shed. A good point that I'd like to bring up, and it creates images. I can't remember if it was Star Trek 5 or 6.
Oh, I love those.
Yeah. So
there's
there's this one. I can't remember, like I said, if it's the 5th or 6th. But Spock's brother he's kind of this, like, he has a hold on people's minds, and his thing is taking away the pain. And so, he does it to Bones McCoy. He helps him, tackle the pain of losing his father and getting beyond that. But he comes to William Shatner, to Captain Kirk, and he's going to try and take his pain away. And I just will always remember, the movie was memorable just to me for this line. He goes, no, I want my pain. I need my pain, because he knows that for his life to carry on, you have to have that pain to know how to get beyond it. Because if you're pain-free, if your life, you don't have that thing that you're moving toward. Mm-hmm. And so that's always stuck out to me, because I've dissected it in my mind. Why would somebody want their pain or need their pain? But, I think we all are always trying to get rid of that pain instead of, tackling it and understanding it. Does that make sense?
No, it does. And that's exactly right. We as we dive into our pain, and one of the things Teal Swan said, that as you dive into your pain, we think that it's going to make we're going to die from it. What's the worst case that could happen? And with this, like she was saying, every time she'd dive into her pain, she thought, I'd rather die. And she'd wait for her death to come, and it never did, because she was able to heal every aspect of her pain. And now she's able to do what she does. And she helps so many people with their traumatic pain. And so, of course, I was dealing with, the fact that I had a lot to do, and my life is full of doing. and my body was asking for rest. And so what did I do? I created win-win. I wrote this article at the beach while I was sitting on I brought my little notebook to the beach, and I honored my body as well as honored my commitment. And so I created that win-win. And so I wanted to encourage people that it's not the end of the world if we are feeling stressed. Figure out what's causing it and dig deep until we can change it, make adjustments. For me, I need to look at the things that I do, or maybe the time I waste not doing that I could be working. Maybe I'm tired and I start surfing the web or start calling somebody or texting or doing something that really does not support my time to the best use. I mean, do you ever find yourself kind of like distracted and you could have been finishing up an article or whatever it is?
I don't know. I feel like from the second I wake up until the second I go to sleep, I'm doing something. So, I'm sure distractions come along, but, right now, my wife and I, we are going to be speaking. We're doing a presentation at an upcoming marriage enrichment event. And so we finished our script, and we were showing it to the leaders of the enrichment group. And, it's talking about, the unique bond between a man and a woman. And so we were talking about all the things we do together, how and it's mostly parenting things, how we, take care of Isabella. If one of us is, away, the other's watching her.
Yeah.
One of us drives her to school, the other picks her up, one of us cooks for her, the other cleans up. And so we had all of these things, and we're thinking, gosh, our presentation showing, good teamwork, and my wife, and they looked at us and they said, but what about the two of you?
I know. I was just waiting for that. Good for you.
Exactly. Yeah. And it was something we had completely missed, is that, we have a 3.5-year-old, and very few times in the past 3.5 years have we actually done something just solely for the two of us. And sometimes we lose sight of that because we're trying to be the best parents, the best employees, the best friends, the best children. And there comes a point where you say to yourself, gosh, when was the last time we stopped and did something for the two of us, not for others, but for ourselves? And it's so easy to lose that in our day-to-day hecticness of life.
Great example. And I remember my husband was giving a talk, and his father taught him that the best way to love his children is to love their mother, and to date her and to honor her. And so my husband has been very good at loving our children that way. We make date night a priority, and that is, so important. And it's always been that way with us. And as a result, 24 years later, we still have a romantic love, which is very, it's a wonderful thing to be able to share. And we used to do the marriage enrichment as well with Marriage Encounter. We were presenting couple, and that was, a wonderful time in our lives that taught us some tools. And I just did a show on Retrovi for marriages in crisis as well. And so, there's so many different ways that when you take inventory and you are awakened, it's a good thing that you were awakened, Tim, today, as opposed to 20 years from now, when Isabella is gone and it's just the two of you going, we have nothing in common. That's when the bomb goes off, right?
Yeah. Luckily, hopefully we'll continue the things we do have in common, but we were kind of joking around. Our 11th anniversary just passed. And so, my wife's parents took Isabella for the night. And what did we do on a Saturday night where it's our anniversary and we could do anything? We were in bed by 8:30 because we had to get up at 4:30 the next morning because we were running a 10K and a 2-miler all over the Ogallie Causeway Bridge. So we did 2 separate runs. The 10K was tough. The 2-miler about a half hour later was even tougher. But, it was still doing something we love together, but it's certainly not, it's not what people would think, oh, we're going to go out and have a romantic evening and this and that. And, I'm a good runner, but my wife beat the snot out of me. She is just amazing.
Good for her.
But yeah, so it's nice that we do have things like that we share and that we were able to do together. But, aside from that night, she and I hadn't taken time for each other since last July. So think about that. In 8 months,
Wow.
we only had one night together.
Wow. Well, that's something to think about here. And so today we are talking about with Tim Walters, we're talking about the next article on Florida Today. You can find that at whenyouneedafriend.com under my article section, actually about Lillian, and or floridatoday.com. We're going to continue our conversation about keeping the terrorist out of our body when we return worldwide at whenyouneedafriend.com. We'll be right here waiting for you. So, wow, what a great awakening. So many bombs are exploding in marriages, Tim. Great call that they caught that with the two of you.
Yeah, they're these great people. They've been putting. I think they were the ones that helped found our church's marriage enrichment thing, and they're very wise people. And like I said, we had finished up, and we were like, "Gosh, we're great teammates, and we do all these things together." And then they asked that question, and then that was the other thing. I didn't mention it on the air. So we did those runs in the morning. And then our in-laws kept Isabella the rest of the day as well. So we get home from our runs, we rested, we recovered, and then we amended our marriage enrichment speech to fix it.
Okay, something's got to change here because that's it. Okay, so in my article, I write about like a symptom like headache and a symptom of diabetes or disease. And I do want to talk about the whole food plant-based movement that there is out there. By the way, can you hear the background?
No.
Okay, perfect. There's looks like there's somebody picking up trash or something. Then there's anxiety and depression. So all those are quick little ways that we can take inventory and assess what's going on in our body. So I want to encourage people to go and read the article as well. So when we come back, I want to talk about, the solutions, of course. Here we were talking about, what to do. What are you doing now? Are you creating a date night with your wife?
Not fully yet.
Well, don't wait for that bomb to go off.
I know. Well, here's the thing, unfortunately, normally my wife's spring break used to be in mid-March, and that would kind of be a time for us to reset and do things. This year, it's not until April, so this is like her stressful time of year. She had her MPAs last night. She's a music teacher, and so she got in. I was asleep last night. She got up, and normally I take Isabella to school, but because I'm on the radio show, she did that. So I think I saw her for 10 minutes this morning.
Wow.
So,
it's time to, Friday nights, if there were times that Robert and I could not go out, and I would get a little picnic going for the kids, and I would make a romantic dinner for my husband, and we would close the doors off, and we say, unless you're coughing up a lung, don't disturb us. And so, when we told them this is our date time, even if we didn't have a babysitter or maybe our finances were a little tighter, those kids would watch, their movie. Our kids did not watch a lot of television, so that was a treat for them to watch a movie. And we'd always get a movie that was, fun for them, and they would play games, and we were right there in the same house, but it was our time. So create it. Even if you can't get out or you don't want to leave the baby with somebody else, create that. It's so important. The last bomb you want is one to blow up in your home and in your relationship. So you're doing the right things, and that I want to acknowledge you for that. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And I think I hear this is our last. Oh wait, show me some Muppet dancing. You haven't been. I loved him.
You can
what a great guy.
Or leave her a voicemail at 407.
Oh, this is where
5959.
Okay.
Once again, here's Lillian.
And welcome back to the Lillian McDermott Radio Show, where you can hear us worldwide at whenyouneedafriend.com. I'm your host, Lillian McDermott, and my co-host today is Tim Walters. He's my Swiss Army knife of editors for Florida Today. And we're talking about my article, dissecting it, called Keeping the Terrorists from Our Bodies. Of course, the article had a totally different name like 20 times, because as I was writing this, I was learning a little bit about what I was needing. Your body will not let you forget what the mind wants to neglect. What are we ignoring? What are the terrorists that we're allowing in our life? Could it be as simple as changing your diet? Could it be as simple as drinking water? Could it be as simple as a date night with your spouse or your special loved one? Could it be as simple as picking up the phone and calling someone that you need to reconcile with? There's so many different ways that bombs can go off in your body. Next thing you know, you get a diagnosis that is totally preventable. I want to encourage you to go to pubmed.gov. PubMed.gov, one of the points that I make in the article is a whole food plant-based diet. You cannot beat that, along with work that you do on your mind, body, spirit. Go and check out how it reverses diabetes, how it reverses disease, how it reverses cancer. But it's not just the food. It's a mind, body, spirit approach. And so I want to encourage you to continue this conversation when we're on or off the air at whenyouneedafriend.com. Check out all the articles. Check out all the guests that we've had that promote a whole food plant-based diet. I am joining forces with Jack's Vegan Couple. I'm so excited to see where this force is going to go. And I know they're probably listening. Isn't that funny the way I'd say that? But I want to encourage you to go to whenyouneedafriend.com. Please become a subscriber. And when you become a subscriber, wait for that confirmation email and confirm. When you become a subscriber, not only do you get gifts, that you will also have the show sent to your phone or your tablets. Check out my sponsors while you're there and make sure you support them the way they're supporting us. You can go to my YouTube page, subscribe there, like me on my social media, subscribe on my on-demands, iTunes, Google Play Music, iHeartRadio. Also, I believe it's Spotify that we're on. But you can always call me, leave a message, or text me, 407-373-5959. And so, Tim, as we this is our last segment. I mean,
I know, it flies by.
It does fly by. It is so important as we continue on, as we start looking at our body and listening to the symptoms, because my body was screaming, Tim. It was screaming, and I was ignoring the screams. But I created win-win. I was able to write this article at the beach while I was catching some sun and feeling the water underneath my feet. I had my little notebook, and I created that win-win. How do you create win-win in your life when you feel, man, I really want to do this, but I've got this commitment that I need to fulfill?
Well, normally if I'm going to do something like that, I try and plan it out so I can get all of my work done to leave myself a little time open.
Mm-hmm.
I know that sounds tough, but if you know it's a week or 2 weeks off, then, you can kind of chip away at that. Now, my question for you would be, imagine, you have all of this stress and anxiety and all of these things. Now, imagine if you had some of the other symptoms. Let's say, I know you eat very healthy. Let's say you didn't. So now you have stress and you have these problems. And these are the things that truly do lead to heart attacks and strokes and things like that. And, so if you have more than one of these symptoms, you really have to be careful because they all pile up. So you have one and it could have been detrimental to your health. Imagine if you had other factors involved in that too.
Well, that's what happens. Once you let one terrorist in your holy temple, then another one comes in and another one comes in. And then we feel disempowered because the world will try to make us feel that you have to take a pill, that you need to eat on the run. And in order and even you said that to me, and it stuck out to me that you said, you have to work so hard that's going to kill you. They're the deadlines, and I said, don't say that, because that's a manifestation that you think that you have to work. Something has to kill you in order for you to be successful. In order to be successful, that's what you said. In order to be successful, you have to work till it kills you. And it doesn't have to be that way. We can shift it, because if we are eating a whole food plant-based diet, and for those of you who want to adopt, we have so many teachers that can help you change the lifestyle. Last night I had a conversation with the Jack's Vegan Couple that, we want to create a a new vegan buddy partner, like people I don't even want to focus on vegan. I want to focus on whole food, plant-based, nutritarian, where we take baby steps closer to what we want. So even Dr. Joel Furman, who's been a regular on the show, he says, even if you have 99% blocked artery, and if you change your lifestyle, that blockage will be reversed. When you put a stent in, it causes all sorts of problems. When you have pain in your body, let's say you have pain in your spine and you do a fusion, that's going to create all sorts of other problems too, because your spine isn't used to bending a certain way. So everything that we can do holistically before taking that pill, before doing the surgery, before doing, whatever it is that we need to do that could cause that bomb to go off, why not listen to our bodies? Because our bodies will always guide us to a truth.
Yeah, it reminds me of a story we did probably about 2 or 3 years ago as part of February's Heart Health Month. We always do, special heart-related stories all month in the health section. And there was a musician that we had interviewed, and I can't remember, his age was maybe 51 or 55, somewhere in that neighborhood. And he had already had, a quadruple bypass surgery. And he said, I'll never forget his quote was something to the effect of, all those years on the road, man, you eat all that fast food and you never think much about it till you're lying there in the hospital.
That's right.
And, so there he was, a guy in his early 50s, who was a musician and traveled around and, not even thinking about those things. And then one day it just, bam, hits you. And, he's lucky to have survived.
That's right. Some people survive the bomb and some people don't. Some people, that's it. That's the only symptom they have is the bomb. And so we need to, we would never, ever, ever put sand in our gas tank, which I say in the article, expecting our cars to run. We would never do that. We would know that if we put sand in our gas tank, that it's going to stall. Something's going to break down the car. But yet we do this to ourselves. We treat our things, our possessions, better than we treat our bodies. And I'm hoping that this article, that as I become vulnerable in this article and allow people to see that there are things that even people who become aware and feel that they're so aware, it creeps up. The terrorists creep up little by little. They come in. Don't let that bomb go off, and allow our bodies to heal naturally. Given to it what it needs, our bodies will respond in a positive way so we can prevent this diagnosis.
So my final question to you today, Lillian, as as our time draws near once again, sadly, is so you wrote this article, a week or two ago after all of these things came down on you. You've had time now. Have you started to do your inventory? Have you started to list all these things out? And are you starting to find those things that maybe you should do without? And how difficult is that?
You're absolutely right. And you and I had a conversation. I told you that there are a lot of things that I'm thinking about and I need to put value on it. It's a process for me. And I've made that commitment to myself, and I appreciate you asking. I'm listening to the tick, tick, tick in my body. I'm listening to that, but I want to make sure that I go towards a solution as opposed to be fearful of the outcome. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, sure.
Yeah.
And I know it's hard. And I'm sure your yellow notepad is probably filling up with things because I know how busy you are.
Yeah, well, we all, and you, like you said it, we could all relate to this because we live in a busy world. What can we do to make sure that we release some of the things that really don't support us? Tim Walters of Florida Today, you are a breath of fresh air. Thank you so much for coming in and doing all the wonderful things that you do.
That's awesome. Thank you as always for having me, Lillian.
And to you, thank you. And to you, my listening friend, are you listening to the tick, tick, tick in your body? Are there screams? Thank your body. Listen by giving it what it needs. Your body is telling you to listen. You can take a pill or you can take responsibility. Watch my Florida Today article. And remember, I'll be right here waiting for you worldwide at whenyounneedafriend.com. This is Lillian McDermott wishing you love, peace, joy, and unexpected abundance. Make it the best day ever. It's like, oh my God. It's like, oh my God. It's like the clock keeps ticking. What my viewers don't see is that clock that's ticking down. Yeah. And all of a sudden it's like, I'm in my moment. I want to say so many things before, that moment where you capture somebody's heart and go, you know, and it just was like, blah, blah. Because the reality is, I am tired. I am tired, but I am not that. I am more than just that. And I'm healthy. I am wealthy. I am wise. I am love. And for me to include tired in there means, remember, one of these things just doesn't belong here. One of these things just doesn't belong, and that's exactly where I'm feeling right now. Tired doesn't belong in all the things that I want to achieve. So what is causing my tiredness to cloud all the beauty that we're trying to create? Does that make sense?
It does, absolutely.
Yeah, I love it when I say something and you're like thinking. Like there have been times like when we've done interviews together and I'll say something and you go, and I'm like, yeah. But you're thinking about, did that promote a thought or for yourself or?
First I was thinking of which one of these is not like the other, because you were singing a different song from what I had in my head.
Well, because I'm older than you, I know the one of these things. The other one was that when you came along.
Yeah, but I was like, you struck an interesting point. Here are all of these wonderful things and then tired. And I was just thinking, what are, and tired is something I feel, but if it's just an interesting point.
Yeah. And another interesting point is, date night. Please incorporate date night, not dead night, date night. Yeah. Incorporate date night with your spouse. That is something. And as much as Robert and I protect our marriage, I have had moments where I've wanted to walk away from our marriage. And it wasn't so much that, it was that my body was so stressed with doing that. I just didn't have one more. It takes a lot of effort to keep romance in your life. It takes a lot of work to look natural, Tim.
Well, and I know that for us, a couple of things. It's going to start getting easier when we move, because right now we're staying temporarily out here in Indian Harbor Beach, and we're not by my family, we're not by her family. When we move to Vieira, it's going to be easier for childcare, because it's not like my mom can just come out here because she takes care of my 90-year-old grandmother.
Yeah.
But when we're living a mile from her, it'll be much easier. Yeah. And then, we'll be closer to Charlotte's parents.
And
so that's one thing.
It's good. And it's good to have little backups too.
Yeah. Yeah.
And not to rely on your parents all the time.
Yeah. Well, just the age that Isabella's at,
She's so
3.5. Yeah, she is. But it's a very, I don't want to say, she hasn't formed that full reason yet. But so she's not as easy to handle as she will be when she's maybe 5 or 6 or 7, where you can kind of talk to her more and she understands it more. So,
I guess that's why they say 7. You've been married for longer than 7 years. You've been married, what, 10
11,
years? 11 years.
Yeah.
That's right. You said that you just celebrated your 11th year. But many couples, that have children right away and, they're focused all their energy on your children and it's all about their children and what can we do as a team? Yeah, we work well as a team, but are we just best friends, roommates, ships passing through the night that are working towards, our child? And then when that child is gone, all that energy, it's just like a caregiver that puts all their energy into working for that person that is needing the help, and they don't have any social aspect outside of taking care of that person. They don't have any, and then when that person dies, their spirit dies with them. And you see it a lot, people that just don't want to live without that person because they put so much investment in there, and that's a bomb that can go off. So it's so important for your mom to be relieved and said, Mom, go with your friends, go play whatever it is. And I'm sure that you protect your mom as well. But there's just so many things that we can do that will heal our bodies so that we can prevent those diseases from coming. And Tim, I'm just so grateful. This was I love it when you're open and vulnerable and honest. And when we do that, it gives permission for others to do the same. So Sure. Thanks for always coming on and dissecting the article and living it as well with me. So thank you.
Well, thank you for having me. And now it's the time for me to do the second fun thing.
I know.
So
You
I
get
got
to
to
do
hit the
the
road.
sports. And thank you. And thank you, my viewing friends, for watching today. I look forward to our next conversation.